Hi everyone, Grandmaster Ben Finegold here. This is my first video where I have a webcam. I don't think it's a good idea, but once again, my wife told me to do it, so that's what I'm doing. It seems a lot of you don't have good reading skills or listening skills, since I explained earlier why I don't do a webcam. And people are like, you should do a webcam. So anyway, I just want to let you know it had nothing to do with you guys. You guys are as dumb and as loud as ever, but my wife said so gotta do what my wife says. And we better get more donations because of this, otherwise, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Um, I'm outside on the deck of my home. There's like some woods behind me, of course. So if I'm ever murdered horribly, you'll know that's some guy in the woods over here. Okay, so for some reason, it already played D4. This is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game ever. It's against Fidel Corrales Jimenez. He certainly has the best name. He's from Cuba, now lives in St. Louis, and he got married a couple of years ago, has a baby, and of course his rating went into the toilet after that. At this time, he was about 2685 USCF, and he was killing it, and now he's about 2590, I guess. He played for the Webster team, I think. Maybe he graduated already. Anyway, I'm white against him in the St. Louis Open in 2013. A lot of you have seen this game already, but you haven't seen it here on this YouTube page. Okay, so the first move was D4, of course. Let's see, I'm trying to get this thing going. I have to click this. I can't just go next. Okay, knight F6. Okay, good. So I was white into Queen C2 Nimzo, which I play a lot in these videos. And my opponent played C5, attacking my D pawn. Takes. Now, a blunder that some of you would make, and when I say some of you, I mean most of you, is the move Bishop G5, which pins the knight. And pause the video. And black's actually winning in this position. So find the winning move for black. That's right. Bishop takes F2, check. Or you could have a beeping noise. King takes F2, knight G4 check with a discovered attack on the bishop. The bishop isn't defended. And now white loses a pawn and loses the right to castle and has an isolated pawn and probably forgot to pay his taxes and all kinds of bad stuff. Okay, so I played the move knight F3, the more common move. And knight c6, and now bishop g5. Now that trick doesn't work because my knight's defending my bishop, so my bishop's not loose. Now the main line in this position is knight to d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, e3, queen a5, attacking the bishop, and threatening to mess up the white pawn structure with bishop takes c3 check. So you take. Usually they play queen d2, usually they trade queens. And white's a little bit better in this ending. I actually drew Grandmaster Gligorich in 1988 in this position. We didn't play very many more moves. Yasser Sir once won a couple of nice games. This is just a little better for white. It's a nice ending. Okay, so instead of knight d4, Fidel played castles. Now I play e3, so my bishop can get out, and I stop knight to d4. As in the previous variation. H6 attacking my bishop, but I saw it. Bishop H4, Bishop E7 retreating his bishop, and he's going to set up some sort of hedgehog position. And when you play the hedgehog and you put all your pawns on the third rank, as you'll see in this game, you don't want your bishop on C5 because then eventually it can get trapped. Bishop's better on E7 anyway because it unpins the knight on F6. Okay, normal hedgehog moves. Rook to d1. And you'll notice this looks suspiciously like my game with Gelfand, except my opponent castled kingside. The other difference, which we don't see in the hedgehog too often, is black's already played knight c6. Normal hedgehog, black plays knight to d7. That blocks the d file. It defends the knight a little extra. The c file is more open. And the bishop's not blocked. So actually the knight's better on d7 than c6. This is like a good hedgehog for white. Okay, and now Fidel was afraid that I would play knight b5 and put tremendous pressure on d6, so he played a6. And again, if I was black here, I would much prefer my knight to be on d7. Okay, so the theme of this game is overworked. As you can tell, I'm very overworked. Oh wait, I have to wake up and make the video. Okay, maybe you can hear that airplane over by. Okay, I paid that guy to do that so you have more of an ambiance of outside. Okay, so you'll notice the bishop on e7 is defending the d6 pawn and the knight on f6. So I took the knight on f6. And now if he takes with the bishop, the pawn on d6 is hanging. Hooray! Okay, so he took with the g-pawn, and, well, he prevented me from playing knight to b5 because his pawn's on a6. So I played knight to e4. And that d-pawn's very difficult to defend. Luckily, he has some counterplay, he has some tricks. And he played knight to b4, which simultaneously attacks my queen and my knight on e4. So I played queen b1. And, yeah, now he went pawn grabbing, although I don't know if I can suggest a really good alternative for him. I think his position's already just bad. So he took my knight and then took my pawn. He's up a pawn, but his knight on a2 is not very good, and he still has a lot of issues. His pawns are weak, his king is open. And I played knight d4, and here he made the losing move. Although you could argue he's already losing, but it's the kind of losing that doesn't matter very much. I have two threats here, but he didn't see one of them. So what he should play is either f5 or queen d7, and then the computer says something like +1 for white. Although it's the kind of position where if I don't execute my attack quickly, I'm down a pawn. Now, he did a 2-for-1 here because he didn't want me to play knight c6, which I agree with. And then I would take his bishop, and I would win my pawn back. And he didn't like his knight on a2, so he played knight b4. Now his knight's not on a2, and I can't play knight c6. Unfortunately, he missed the other threat. So, well, this is a white to play and win problem, although it takes like 1,000 moves to win. But so you don't win right away. Okay, what's the winning move for white? The best move and the move that he overlooked. Pause your video and try to figure it out. Okay, and hopefully some of you found knight takes e6. And again, I said earlier the bishop was overworked defending f6 and d6. Now his pawn on f7 is overworked, defending two important squares. He has to take my knight. He can't lose all his pieces. Queen g6 check. And I have perpetual check, of course, but I play for mate. If I play rook d4 right away with the idea of rook h4, which is possible, he could play f5, and he has a lot of pieces defending h4. So I played bishop to g4. Okay, so obviously I want to play bishop takes e6, or I could preface that with queen h6 check first, doesn't matter. If he plays f5, I go check, and then bishop f5, and I'm threatening mate in 2 with queen g6, queen h7 mate, and I'm also threatening queen takes rook, and I would have a rook and 3 pawns for 2 pieces, which is too much. Well, even if he stops mate here, probably I'm not going to take his rook on c8, but I'm going to try to mate him anyway. Computer says something like +5 here for white, so obviously this isn't playable for black. Okay, so f5 is bad, and you can't let me play bishop takes e6. So he played the move queen to d7, defending his pawn on e6. And now, you remember earlier I was explaining that I wanted to play rook d4 and rook h4, but he could play f5 and defend against that. So I prevented the move f5 with the move bishop f5. Threatening queen h7 mate, took my bishop, and now rook d4. So it seems like the game is over. I'm going to play rook h4 mate. Okay, so can't let me do that. So he has to play f4, and when I take, play f5, and he gets to defend the h4 square. Okay, but luckily I have 2 rooks, so I play rook d4, and I'm threatening rook h4 check, followed by mate. After the game, I showed him the best defense, which was rook c7, check, takes, here. Now you see the point of rook c7, defends his queen. And unfortunately for him, I have queen takes g6, forking the knight and rook. He saves his rook, I assume. I take his knight, and I have 3 extra pawns. Should be easily winning. And after the game, I said, you should do that. And then he said, yeah, but that's winning for you. And I said, yeah, but that's better than what he did. And I saw that when I sacrificed on e6 about 10 moves ago, because otherwise I wouldn't sack a piece. Okay, so I knew that rook c7 was best. He played queen d8, which is the obvious way to defend h4. And luckily, I don't need to play rook h4 to mate him. I can also play rook h7, rook h6, rook h5, rook h3. And the only way to get to one of those squares is to play rook f3. And now I'll play rook h3 mate. He played f4, which is the only move because it blocks my rook from the h4 square. So now after rook h3 check, he can block. And now, if you remember earlier, I was talking about overworked. The bishop on e7 was overworked. The pawn on f7 was overworked. Well, now this is the best overworked in this game, and possibly in a lot of games. The queen and bishop are stopping me from mating him. If they weren't there, I'd play rook h3. And of course, the queen and bishop are also defending d6. Can't do both, so I played rook takes d6. It's a flashy move to play. And now, if he takes either way on d6, then rook h3 is mate. So, yeah, he's in a lot of trouble here. He played bishop h4. And now, I could have won very quickly, but I didn't see it, so I had a good excuse. I saw queen h6. I saw rook g6. I saw rook g7. Notice black only has one legal move. And in my head, in my analysis, I only saw queen e6 check. Then after bishop e7, I couldn't figure out what to do. I didn't see two easy ways to win, queen g6 or queen h5. And then it's mate. That would have been a nice way to finish the game. So I didn't see queen g6. I played queen h5 and rook f4 check. And you know your position's bad when the engine says the best move is queen f6, allowing rook g takes queen double discovered triple quadruple check with a Lutz and a, yeah. So that move lasts the longest. But okay, he played king e7, queen e5 check. And black only has one legal move here, but instead he chose to resign. If he plays king d7, I have two different mates. I have queen d6 and rook f8, which was my intention. And I saw the other mate, which is rook d4 and rook takes mate. I don't know which one you like better. You'll notice his king was really running around that game, and my king was pretty safe. I sacrificed two pieces, but I had all my pieces working on his king. And so that was sort of a nice win. Now, that win actually helped me in the tournament, not just because I won a game. His teammate at Webster, Georg Meyer, who's a better player than me and Fidel, he, about 26-50 FIDE, give or take, he was watching that game and saw how I gave him the beatdown. So the next round, I had white against Meyer, and we played our opening prep, and he offered me a draw. And I think if I hadn't won that game and he hadn't seen that, he would just destroy me because he's 140 points higher rated than me. But I guess he thought I played reasonably that game, and drawing with black would be good against me. So I accepted. I ended up drawing the last game against another grandmaster with the black pieces, so I tied for first. We all tied for first. And so that was maybe my best played win, most exciting, interesting against a higher rated player. And I enjoyed it. And one good thing about chess is even if you lose, you can get some enjoyment out of the game. Afterwards, a lot of people would be upset about losing, because who likes losing? But my opponent Fidel and Georg Meyer and Yasser Seirawan and Ray Robson and some other people analyzed the game for like 90 minutes downstairs because the variations were so interesting. And he was laughing more than anybody. So that's one reason I like Fidel a lot. He has a really good, a good feel for chess. And if he loses, he wants to analyze and figure out why, not just, I lost, hate that. And the game was so interesting and sacrificial and good for the fans that he enjoyed it also. Obviously, I'd rather be white, but, And I've lost some games like that where my opponent's sacrificing and crushing me, and they're interesting even if you'd rather be on the other side. Well, that was my first webcam with, out here in nature. Hey, I'm talking here, bird. Quiet. Nobody's paying you. And, yeah. Man, the airplanes are flying right over. This is the U.S. Open from 1980. I mean, the tennis one. Oh, you weren't born in 1980. Okay, never mind. And, yeah, hopefully the webcam works. You guys enjoy it. And we're going to find out by the donations. If our chess center's not getting any donations, you guys aren't going to see my pretty face anymore. Wait, is that a threat or a promise? The truth hurts. Okay, don't forget to go to the website, atlchessclub.com. The more you donate, the more you learn, the more pretty face you see. Maybe I'll bring out some special guests, like my actually pretty wife, as opposed to me. And follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, like and subscribe here on YouTube. And if you guys like this, we'll do it again. Bye, everyone.